Great stuff. So I wanted to pivot now. We're going to stay on the topic of Marvel. This is the last, the last topic. But did you see that Shang-Chi trailer, Dre? I mean, how awesome was that?
Oh my gosh. That. Oh my. You know. It's really something like that. Okay, so as far as like Marvel, or MCU iconography, there wasn't a whole lot of that. If for Marvel, if for true Marvel MCU fans, there was enough to chew on for sure. But
Right.
what made this kind of separate itself in the pack was just how different it actually was. I mean, I believe his name is Bill Pope, the cinematographer on this project. He's done prior work in The Matrix. What is it? He's done work Spider-Man 2 and 3. This is his first MCU film. And he brings a style that's really, really interesting just from a cinematography level. I mean, you're just seeing these pans, these twists, these turns. You're seeing this kind of color correction that we've never really associated with the MCU before. I think they're going out with this one and really saying like, "Hey, look, we know we have a certain what is it? We have a notion out there that all these movies kind of feel the same, they look the same, all that kind of stuff. We really want to do something that's really unique and original." And I think that's the tone that Marvel's been setting ever since Endgame, and I think it's really worked out great for them, and this is no exception.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really actually took notice to the music in the trailer. I don't know if that's the music that's going to be in the movie, but at least in the trailer, I really like the approach of it kind of being this very Asian inspired music, but kind of woven into this hip hop beat. It reminded me, I was, as a kid growing up, I was a huge fan of the Wu-Tang Clan. I loved Wu-Tang, and it kind of reminded me of Wu-Tang, where it was Asian-inspired martial arts, but then it had that hip-hop element to it.
Right.
That's what this music reminded me of, and I thought, you know what? That's exactly the kind of tone they should be going with here. I think it just hit the nail on the head. I really enjoyed the music in this trailer.
It's definitely taking inspiration from like a wuxia film, and like you said, kind of an urban hip hop influence, and kind of merging those together, like you said, like Wu Tang would. It definitely almost Crouching Tiger in that way, and it really is a mixture of styles, but they blend extremely well in this trailer. I was really impressed.
Yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned, like that Marvel's trying to kind of, since Endgame, do different stuff. And I agree. You're definitely seeing that. They're trying to get out of just that like formulaic kind of superhero bubble, and they're trying to do different things in this whole new direction. I mean, with WandaVision, with the sitcom element and all of that, and now we're into Shang-Chi and all that. It's just they're really trying to branch out, and I respect that. And I like that. I think it keeps the MCU fresh. You don't want to fall back on just being like standard stuff forever. You want to kind of branch out.
You got to be unique. Now we're going into so many MCU films. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, they kind of feel the same" and stuff like that. And I think they understand that. They understand that it's like there's a certain level of expectation that comes with the MCU, but if we stick to that style too closely, we can start to get irrelevant really fast. And I think I think what they've been doing the last couple of entries, whether it be WandaVision, even going back to Black Panther and Doctor Strange and stuff like that, they're kind of unique films. They're kind of films that kind of stand alone, that you kind of remember, that have their own unique identities and personalities, and I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really looking forward to this movie. Now, have you heard? I missed it. I'm not really sure. Have you heard that the approach they're going to have with this film? Is it going to be in theaters, or is it going to be like a dual release of theaters and Disney Plus? Or have you heard anything in regards to that?
So a lot of industry experts are saying that it should be a release straight to theaters. I mean, they wanted to do it with Black Widow, but it just, the timing wasn't correct. A lot of the decisions with the Disney company right now, when it comes to theme park projects, studio releases, and so forth, is really predicated on vaccine and vaccine distribution. And while distribution has been going well, they just couldn't make the the Black Widow date. They didn't feel comfortable with it just being in theaters. However, these theaters are struggling, so they need content badly, exclusive content. But that should change. Shang-Chi has been scheduled for September, and from what I understand, a lot of the analysts are saying that that should be a theater exclusive.
Cool. I think that's great. I think that's great for the movie, and I think that's great for theaters, which desperately need it. I just heard, I think it was like last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, that Pacific Theaters is closing their door, all of their theaters, and here in California, they're a big player. I mean, there's a theater down the street from me, that's a Pacific Theater that's massive. I grew up in that theater. It's really sad to see.
No, it really is. I was worried about my local theater chain here, Harkins Theaters, about it being affected. And interestingly, they're kind of refurbishing their theaters in one of the local malls here, which is quite phenomenal to see. But others not so lucky, unfortunately. And that's really, the reason why we have billion-dollar films and these huge box office grosses is from how many screens are available. Every day that goes by without movies being released, at least given some type of window in the theaters, that's less and less screens that will be available when these things do come back. So it is very concerning from that end. But to talk about the trailer itself, though, a lot of cool references to. I guess we're gonna have what is it? The Mandarin, the actual true Mandarin, and not just the kind of tease that we got, and kind of got the subverting our expectations, you could say, to quote Ryan Johnson there. From Iron Man 3, we're actually gonna get the real Mandarin. We're actually going to have these things. We're going to have maybe flashback scenes that go back in time a little bit to ancient China and what was going on there with this kind of Order of the Ten Rings is what we're going to be seeing here. And it looks like they changed the 10 rings from rings that were previously on the finger to these kind of armbands that you're seeing, which is consistent with kind of Asian kind of kung fu practices where fighters will put rings on to actually strengthen their muscles in their arms and while they're kind of doing their training. So it's kind of interesting in that way. Just some kind of changes that kind of bring it closer to its heritage and roots. There's what is it? I'm trying to think back to all the stuff that I saw in the trailer. There's so much there.
So much.
But just kind of the wire work, the wuxia style, like we were saying, I think it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah. It was really, really interesting, and it was kind of interesting how he, I think it was his father that told him, "I'm going to give you 10 years to kind of live your life, kind of like I guess party it up or do whatever you want. But after that 10 years, it's back in business. It's
so
kind of interesting."
Oh yeah. So if people don't understand the story here of Shang-Chi, so the kind of premise is that the lead character was trained as an assassin by his father, which we expect to be the Mandarin. And as an assassin, he's kind of been this tool and this pawn for all this time and has been kind of trained to be that person, kind of his right-hand man kind of thing. And, it's interesting. Some people say that maybe he was let go. Other people say that he's escaped his clutches of his father, and maybe he believed that he was completely out of that world, but his father's been keeping an eye on him this whole time, which is kind of interesting. Kind of sets up an interesting dynamic for the film. It's some pretty fascinating stuff in there.
It is. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's really going to be. From what I've seen, I'm impressed, and I can't wait for it. I really can't. Yeah,
there might be callbacks to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and some tiebacks to other MCU films. For example, of the Doctor Strange, what is it, post-credits scene? Do you remember that?
Refresh my memory. It's been a while since I've seen that one.
So one of the characters in that film, they have it out with the Hong Kong Sanctum and everything like that, and Doctor Strange uses the time gem for the first time to kind of switch back time, and one of the kind of sidekick ancillary characters in that kind of gets he's like whoa dude, like that's not how you should be doing that, like that's an extremely dangerous thing that you did that right there. And Dr. Strange is like, hey look, we're all here, right? I mean, the world didn't collapse in on itself. This is what we had to do. And he kind of goes off on his own and starts to kind of steal magic and gets rid of sorcerers along the way to do that. Then the post-credit scene shows one of the other characters being affected by him, and he kind of turns evil at that point. Well, that character might be brought back in Shang-Chi, and
Wow.
you're, even though we didn't see primo MCU iconography, the MCU he's definitely part of it, and he will be incorporated in it.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, and I've heard and I'm not a big comic. I don't read the comics, full disclosure, but I heard that I guess at some point in the comics, at least, that Shang-Chi was part of the Avengers or some iteration of the Avengers in the comics.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be incorporated into this kind of new Avengers that we're going to be seeing post Iron Man and Game and so forth. No question that he'll find his role in there and how that kind of connects with everybody else. I mean, the setting is San Francisco, or at least where he lives in the film. In the start of it, and that's not that far from Ant-Man. So there you go.
Yeah, and it's also kind of perfect for DCA, California Adventure, if they want to put it in there.
There you go. There you go. One of the final action sequences takes place right in front of Ghirardelli Square, right?
Oh,
so there you go. You're already in there. So there you go. We'll see. I mean, I can see that though. I mean, they have the Lunar New Year festival every single year, and that's extremely successful. I'm sure you could have some kind of integration with that.
Yeah, absolutely.